Welcome to the deep dive. You know, the Salesforce world moves fast, especially with user interfaces. Keeping up, it feels like a full-time job sometimes.
It really does. How do you figure out what actually matters for the future without getting totally swamped?
Exactly.
Well, that's what we're tackling today. We're doing a deep dive into Lightning Web Components, LWC.
Okay.
We want to unpack what it is, sure, but more importantly, why it's so crucial for Salesforce looking ahead to 2025.
And we've got a great guide for this.
Yeah, we're drawing heavily from an excellent blog post by Raksha Sanganee. She's a Salesforce solution consultant, and she published this in the UK Salesforce Consultants and Contractors Community Group, which
Yeah.
she actually co-leads.
Right, and Raksha really knows her stuff. She's not just a consultant, she's an architect too, with what, over 5 years deep in Salesforce?
Yeah, and tons of hands-on LWC experience. Her perspective is grounded. Think about it, over 50 certs total, 15 Salesforce ones, like application architect, CPQ specialist.
Wow. And the Trailhead stats are impressive too, 15x All-Ranger. That shows a real commitment to learning and mastering the platform.
Exactly. Plus practical skills across the board, Apex, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and LWC. She gets the whole picture.
And she's recognized too, right? Capado Award winner, Woman in IT nominee.
Yep, and leading community groups. It shows leadership and real-world application, not just theory.
Perfect. So let's get into it. We'll unpack what LWC is, why it matters so much, take a peek under the hood, see where it shines, and then look at what's next, all through Raksha's lens.
Sounds good. Let's start with that first reaction.
Okay, so Raksha mentions that when she first heard about LWC, it sounded super proprietary and complex.
Yeah, and I think that's a common feeling, right? You hear a new acronym in the Salesforce world and think, oh, great, another completely new thing to learn from scratch.
Totally.
But the fascinating thing Raksha points out, her sort of huge aha moment, was realizing LWC is actually built directly on web standards.
Web standards,
Mhm.
meaning like regular web tech.
Exactly. It's essentially a modern JavaScript framework for Salesforce, but its foundation is standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Your existing web development knowledge, directly applicable.
Okay, that's a big deal.
Huge. Raksha uses a great analogy. It's like Salesforce decided to use standard, high-quality building blocks instead of inventing entirely new custom ones.
I like that standard building blocks makes it feel much less intimidating. So what are those specific blocks? Can you break down the tech Raksha outlines?
Sure. She points to the core web technologies. First, you've got HTML. That's your structure, the layout. It defines what goes where on the screen. Pretty standard stuff.
Right.
Then CSS for all the styling colors, fonts, spacing.
Yeah.
Again, just like regular web CSS. Makes it familiar.
Okay, structure and style. Got it. What about the logic?
That's where JavaScript comes in. It's the brains, handling how the component behaves, user interactions, all that dynamic activity.
Standard JS.
Pretty much standard modern JavaScript, yeah. But then there's the Salesforce twist, the Salesforce-specific APIs.
Okay. The secret sauce.
Kind of. These are the bridges that let your LWC talk directly to Salesforce, fetching records, saving changes, kicking off platform events. That's where the Salesforce magic happens, connecting your standard web code to the core platform data and processes.
That makes sense. So the core is familiar web tech, but with special hooks into Salesforce itself.
Exactly.
So the takeaway here is, if you, our listener, have some web development chops already, you're not starting from zero. You've got a real head start.
A massive head start. It really lowers the barrier to entry.
All right, so we know what it is, but why should a developer, or maybe even an architect or admin, really care about LWC? Raksha lays out some clear advantages, making it the go-to now.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. She highlights 3 core advantages. First one, performance is king.
Performance? Okay, faster loading.
Exactly. Because LWC is built on modern web standards and runs natively in the browser more efficiently than older frameworks like Aura, it's just faster. Raksha describes it as incredibly efficient. For the user, that means quicker load times, a smoother, less clunky experience.
And everyone wants that, right? Less waiting, more doing.
Always a win. Faster apps mean happier, more productive users. Raksha sees this directly impacting usability.
Makes sense. Does that focus on standards ever feel limiting compared to older, more Salesforce-specific ways?
That's a good question. But actually, because Salesforce built those specific APIs on top, you get the performance and the deep platform integration. It feels less like a limitation and more like the best of both worlds.
Okay.
Which ties into the second advantage Raksha points out, the developer experience.
Ah, the DevX. What's better about it?
From a learning perspective, she says LWC just feels familiar if you've used any modern JavaScript framework like React or Vue. It uses standard tools, standard patterns.
So less of a steep learning curve.
Definitely. It makes the coding itself feel more intuitive, more modern. Raksha mentions it genuinely makes coding more enjoyable, which, matters.
It absolutely does. Happier developers often means better code. What's the third big advantage?
The third one is about the bigger picture, future-proofing your skills.
How so?
Because LWC aligns so closely with web standards, learning it isn't just a Salesforce skill, you're building foundational web development knowledge.
Ah, so it's transferable.
Exactly. As web standards evolve, Salesforce keeps LWC aligned, so the time you invest learning LWC pays off not just within the Salesforce ecosystem, but potentially in the broader tech world, too.
That really changes the calculation, doesn't it? It's not just learning a niche tool.
Right. It makes you think. How does investing your learning time here position you for success more broadly, beyond just Salesforce roles?
Let's make this more concrete. Raksha used a Hello World example in her blog post, which is perfect for understanding the basic structure, just 3 files, right?
Yep, the classic example, but it shows the core parts beautifully. At its simplest, an LWC needs these 3. First, the HTML file, like helloworld.html.
The visual part.
Right. You'll see the template tag that's always the root container for your component's markup. Inside, Raksha uses things like Lightning Card and Lightning Input.
Those sound like Salesforce things.
They are. They're pre-built components from the Lightning design system. Basically, ready-made UI bits that look and feel like Salesforce, saving you tons of styling and functional code. Huge time saver.
Nice. And what about showing data or handling input?
Good question. You see data binding with curly braces, like greeting. That's how a value from your JavaScript code gets displayed in the HTML. And then event handling, like onChange handle, input change on the input field. That links user action typing in the box directly to a JavaScript function.
Okay, so HTML is the structure, the pre-built bits, and the links to the logic. What about the logic file itself?
That's the second file, the JavaScript file, helloworld.js. This is where the component's behavior lives.
Right.
At the top, you'll see an import statement bringing in Lightning element and track from the LWC module. Lightning element is the base class every LWC extends.
And track. What does that do?
@track. Raksha has @track greeting world. The @track decorator is key for reactivity. If you decorate a property with @track, LWC watches it. When the value of greeting changes in the JavaScript.
The HTML updates automatically.
Exactly. The part of the template using greeting just instantly reflects the new value. That's fundamental to how modern web apps feel responsive.
Cool. And handling the input.
She has a function handle input change event. It looks like pretty standard JavaScript. It takes the event and uses event.target.value to get the text the user typed into the input field. Then it updates the greeting property.
Okay, HTML for looks, JS for brains and reactivity. What's the third file?
The third one is the meta file, helloworld.js-meta.xml. This is purely configuration. It tells Salesforce about your component.
What kind of information?
Crucial stuff, like the API version it's compatible with. And, importantly, is exposed true.
Why is that one important?
If is exposed isn't true, you can't actually use the component in Salesforce. You couldn't drag and drop it onto a page in the app builder, for example.
Ah, okay, so that makes it visible to the platform tools.
Precisely. And then there are targets, which define where you can place this component, like on a home page, a record page, an app page. You configure its availability.
Got it. So those 3 files work together. HTML for structure and appearance, JS for logic and reactivity, and XML for telling Salesforce how and where to use it.
You got it. And Raksha emphasizes that moment when you deploy these simple files and suddenly see your interactive component working in Salesforce. It feels a bit like magic for a beginner.
I can imagine. That immediate feedback is super motivating.
Okay, so we understand the building blocks. Where does Raksha see LWC making the biggest splash in the real world? Where does it really shine?
She gives some great examples across different Salesforce clouds. In Sales Cloud, think about building really dynamic dashboards for sales reps.
Like beyond the standard reports.
Yeah, imagine components where reps can filter pipeline data instantly right on their homepage, or custom interfaces for lead qualification that maybe pull in data from external sources seamlessly, much more tailored to their workflow.
That sounds incredibly useful, cutting down clicks, bringing relevant info forward. Definitely. Or take Service Cloud. Customizing the agent console is a big one. LWC lets you build components, giving agents that quick, 360-degree view of the customer case history, maybe related knowledge articles, even AI-driven recommendations all in one place.
Improving agent efficiency and the customer experience simultaneously.
Exactly. And Raksha specifically calls out her interest in Experience Cloud, what used to be Community Cloud.
Right, for customer portals and partner sites.
Yeah, LWC is perfect for building really engaging branded portals where customers can self-serve, submit cases, browse knowledge bases. It dramatically improves that external user experience, which he's keen to build more with.
That makes sense. Extending Salesforce functionality outward.
Yeah.
Any other areas?
She also mentions Financial Services Cloud, creating those highly personalized client dashboards for financial advisors, consolidating complex account information, holdings, alerts into one intuitive view, making data actionable.
It really sounds like LWC enables a much higher degree of customization and usability across the board.
That's the core benefit. It moves beyond generic interfaces to truly tailored, efficient user experiences. You can really start to picture how these kinds of LWC-driven customizations could transform daily work in almost any Salesforce org you might touch.
So looking ahead now, Salesforce isn't standing still with LWC. What developments is Raksha watching for 2025 and beyond? What's next?
Yeah, the platform keeps evolving, which is good news. Raksha flags a few key areas. One is enhanced debugging tools.
The bane of every developer's existence.
Right. Debugging LWC can sometimes be tricky, so any improvements there, better ways to find and fix bugs faster are always welcome, makes life easier.
Definitely needed. What else?
She also mentions improved component lifecycle hooks. Now, this sounds a bit technical.
Break it down for us.
Okay, so lifecycle hooks are basically specific points in a component's life, like when it's first created, when it gets added to the page, when it's updated, when it's removed. Having more precise control points, or hooks, allows developers to do things more efficiently.
What?
Like maybe only loading complex data exactly when the component becomes visible on the screen instead of loading it up front unnecessarily. It's about fine-tuning performance and behavior. More control is generally better for optimization.
Makes sense. More granular control for smarter components. And the last area sounds pretty exciting.
It really is. This is the futuristic part she mentions. Much tighter integration with AI and Salesforce's data cloud.
Okay, AI and data cloud. How would LWC use those?
We're moving beyond just displaying data. Imagine LWC components that can directly tap into Einstein AI insights or pull unified customer profiles straight from Data Cloud.
Give me an example.
Raksha's example is great. Picture a component on an opportunity page that doesn't just show related products, but uses AI to actively suggest the best product to pitch next, based on the customer's profile and history pulled from Data Cloud.
Wow, okay, that's not just displaying info, that's providing real-time intelligence within the UI.
Exactly. It's moving towards proactive, intelligent interfaces. And seeing LWC positioned to leverage these advanced platform capabilities really underscores why building these skills is about preparing for that next wave of Salesforce innovation.
What a fantastic overview. It really clarifies why LWC has become so central. Raksha's insights really drive home that it's powerful, it performs well, and critically, it uses those web standards that make learning it so valuable.
Absolutely. And it's worth remembering this whole deep dive. It was based on just part 1 of her LWC blog post series.
Right, so there's even more depth available if you want to keep exploring.
It definitely encourages continued learning, especially if you want to get hands-on building this stuff.
For sure. So here's a final thought to leave you with. We've talked about LWC's foundation in web standards and how it's increasingly merging with AI and data cloud. How might this convergence fundamentally change what it means to be a Salesforce developer? Could it blur the lines between web development and platform expertise even further? What new possibilities does that open up for you?